Sudan is grappling with a devastating crisis. A civil war, which erupted in April 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF, continues to wreak havoc. The conflict has led to thousands of deaths, displaced millions, and plunged the nation into humanitarian catastrophe marked by acute hunger, disease, and instability. We spoke to UK Director of Islamic Relief Tufail Hussain, who was on the ground, about what he saw while he was there.
It was a warehouse, and it was an abandoned warehouse. And the only way I can describe it is a warehouse with no walls, so you could see inside it. When we arrived into this reception center, what I saw absolutely shocked me. Over 20,000 people were being hosted in this reception center, and they were starving. We were immediately surrounded by the community leaders, and they were complaining, saying that, and you could see they looked disheveled, they looked gaunt, they looked hungry, and they were saying, "Look, we're only getting one meal a day, if that." When I looked into the faces of people as I was looking around, I couldn't wander inside the camp because of the risk of disease, because it was in such a sort of bad state. You could see that people were just in a daze. They had no possessions. They were virtually living on top of each other. There was no privacy, and the area stunk of sewage, indicating that people were again forcibly openly defecating because there aren't enough latrines. Now, usually these types of reception centers you have aid agencies working there that immediately welcome such displaced people, providing them with the basic necessities, and they're usually processed and moved on to more organized camps. That's not happening in Sudan. This has been described as a war on civilians rather than a civil war. The civilians, unfortunately, have borne the brunt of what's going on in Sudan. In Khartoum, it's estimated that over 60,000 people have been killed. Think about that, 60,000 people. You have 25 million people that are food insecure. Of those, over 750,000 are under famine conditions. And when famine has been reached, it's already too late. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands will have already starved to death. So there is a food crisis on the ground. The price of food has shot up due to, of course, the war. Farmers have seen their crops being looted. Many of course, have had to escape, so they're no longer farming their land. Crops have been impacted, and this has driven the price of food up, and of course, has made it inaccessible for most of the population in Sudan. Women and children have particularly been impacted. Over 3.7 million people, children, are acutely malnourished in Sudan. Many of these children have witnessed atrocities. In Eastern Sudan, we've hosted we have a camp there, and children have arrived telling stories of atrocities that they've witnessed, that no child should witness. Mm-hmm. And we've heard stories about how children have seen their homes being destroyed, about seeing civilians being killed. One child described how civilians were being stopped in the streets, told to dig their own graves, and being shot. Wow. And these children are now reported to be suffering from trauma. They're finding it hard to sleep at night. And sadly, women there are horrific stories of crimes against women. I heard stories about mass rapes, about how fathers and brothers were being forced to deliver their daughters and their sisters to local militia camps so that people could do with those women what they wanted. Many women have been forced into child marriages. And so it's horrific what our brothers and sisters are going through in Sudan. This is a war on civilians, and it is shameful that the international community continue to ignore what's going on there.